AfterDeath by Emo the Chapter 4 Last Moments?
"Step aside, and your punishment will be light,"
Asgore emotionally said. Undyne and Papyrus were now beside him with their weapons ready. Papyrus seemed hesitant, but he had no other choice but to obey the king. Death wouldn't blame him.
"I don't care. If you want to take his soul, you have to kill me first."
Death dared, his expression serious with anger hidden behind. Asgore lowered his weapon, the trident, as his shoulders slightly sagged. He heaved a sigh, seemingly disappointed. Undyne and Papyrus glanced at the king in anxiety, wondering what he would do. But it seemed like their weapons were for nothing when the king spoke calmly.
"Death, this is a necessary process. The last time you spared a soul, they became demonic."
Enough! Everyone turned their heads towards Life, who was beside the bed and behind Reaper. She had an ugly scowl on her lips and her eyes were sharp. Her paws were clenched tight and shoulders tensed. Clearly, she doesn't like the topic. "It's obvious that you don't know nothing of what's going on, Asgore." Life began as she stalked forward past Reaper and right in front of the king. "When will you ever stop making reckless decisions?" she continued.
"Life, Toriel, I'm just doing this for the better."
Asgore replied softly. His eyes softened and his intimidating demure seemingly disappeared, replaced by a soft and caring one instead. As the royal couple argued, Reaper suddenly realized that no one was looking after Geno. He swiftly turned his head back towards the bed behind him, which caught Undyne's attention, then at the arguing couple before practically sprinting to the bed's side. Undyne readied her scythe, just in case Death tried to escape with the overdue soul, but what she saw instead made her realize something. She saw Death caress the heavily injured skeleton's cheekbone with great care. She saw how Death looked at the other skeleton. Death's gaze was loving, worried, and hopeful. "Look at them and tell me what you see."
"But Toriel, if we let it be, the soul will turn demonic and would annihilate us all."
The argument goes on, but somehow Death and Undyne can't bring themselves to listen or even care. Death had noticed that Geno's breathing had eased up considerably and his expression was relaxed, like he was just resting peacefully. Death would have thought so if not for the intense amount of blood that covered his whole body. Life must have healed him while he was talking to Asgore, Death thought gratefully. He had an overwhelming urge to summon Geno's soul to check its condition, but he knows it would be a bad idea, considering that there is at least 3 Reapers in the room that would gladly reap Geno's soul. And what about outside? How many Reapers were there outside, waiting for an order? It doesn't matter. "Outside! Now!" Life suddenly ordered as she ushered Asgore out the door. Her sudden command made Death and the rest of the occupants perk up and snap their heads in her direction.
"But Toriel..."
"Clearly, you know nothing about this whole situation. We are going to talk." Life ranted on, and when Death realized that they were going to leave, he panicked.
Wait! Tori! What about Geno?"
Life called and was about to follow Life to the door. Life turned back around and knelt in front of Death. She placed her paws on his shoulders before speaking in her motherly tone. "It's okay. Geno still has time. Check his soul," she said before hurriedly standing up and out the door. giving no time for Death to even react. The door slammed closed, and the room was engulfed with silence. Death suddenly realized that Undyne and Papyrus were still in the room and teleported beside the bed. Death glared at them, and they gazed back at him with compassion? Death was confused as his glares wavered. Undyne noticed it and dismissed her scythe. Its disappearance with a faint flash of blue magic. Then she motioned for Papyrus to do the same.
Death, it's okay. We won't attack.
Undyne began. Her tone was rather sympathetic. Death narrowed his eye sockets in suspicion and disbelief.
Just a moment ago, you were ready to lunge at us, and now you're saying you won't attack?
That was before.
Undyne trailed off as she bit her lower lip in hesitation.
Before what?
Before,
Just check his soul before he falls down or something.
Undyne growled in frustration, but didn't dare move from her spot near the door. Shit! Death didn't realize that. If Geno falls down, it doesn't matter if life heals him, because he'll never wake up. Quickly, summoning Geno's soul, Death gasped at the sight. Geno's shard of a soul was encased in a sphere of white transparent magic that looked like glass. It was life's magic. Death briefly glanced back at Papyrus and Undyne, just in case they tried something funny, and found their faces in shock. Death proceeded to ignore them. Instead, he focused his attention back on Geno's soul. At first glance, he thought that the disintegration process had stopped, which filled him with hope. But upon closer inspection, it was still breaking apart, very, very slowly. Life had managed to slow down the already slow deterioration of Geno's soul. Life was right. Geno had more time. That, at least, calmed him down considerably.
What's wrong with his soul?
Papyrus suddenly asked as he perched over Reaper's left shoulders, which startled Death and caused him to jump a little.
It's almost gone, but it's still glowing bright.
Undyne commented as she perched over Reaper's right shoulder. Death sighed before replying,
It's a long story. I'll tell you guys if I make it out alive.
Undyne and Papyrus gave Death a concerned look, but Death just ignored them and kept gazing at the soul inside the glass sphere. A quiet groan caught their attention as the three Reapers perked up. Geno stirred. Death felt like his own soul leapt in hope as he quickly placed Geno's soul back over his chest so that it would be absorbed back into his body. Undyne backed up and pulled Papyrus with her back to the initial position near the door.
Undyne, what are you doing? I want to meet him,
Papyrus complained, but Undyne just silenced him. Give him some personal moment. They need it. Death caressed Geno's cheeks gently with both his hands and turned Geno's face toward him, eager to find any sign of movement.
Geno?
Death softly called. A few seconds passed and Death was about to call his name again, but stopped when Geno groggily opened the only visible eye socket, and the first thing he saw was a blurry black and white figure. But somehow he knows who it is. Death? He hastily called, and Death felt utterly relieved.
Hey, how are you feeling?
Death forced a smile. Geno blinked a few times to clear his vision. As his eye light became more stable, Death can't help but notice the purple discoloring under Geno's eye sockets.
I feel tired.
Geno slurred. His mind was still muddled with sleep, and his vision spins a little. He was having a hard time recognizing where he was. A wave of nausea hit him, and he closed his eye socket as he quietly groaned.
What's wrong? Where's it hurt?
Death frantically asked, worriedly, even though it was probably the deep slash on his chest. But he was utterly surprised when Geno replied,
No, I'm fine. Just dizzy.
Geno opened his eye socket once more and lifted his hands in front of him. It was soaked with crimson blood, even his sleeves. Just as then, he noticed Reaper's hand was still on his cheeks. Something was nagging him on the back of his head, and there was something wrong with Reaper's touch, but he couldn't put a finger on it, thanks to his muddled mind and sleepiness. Reaper placed his own bloody hands over Reaper's as his face morphed into a confused expression. Reaper frowned.
Something wrong?
He worriedly asked once again. My dead? Reaper suddenly asked, which taken Death aback, and he immediately sighed.
What? No, baby, you're alive.
Death exclaimed with a hint of joy as he ever so slightly shook Geno's face, which made Geno a little dizzy.
Then why can't I feel the pain? And you're touching my face.
Geno's speech began to slur, mingling the words together, but still understandable.
Hey! Can you stay awake for me?
Death asked softly, because honestly, Death would prefer Geno to be awake than asleep. It makes him feel calm to see Geno conscious, convincing, and obviously not in pain. Geno's eye socket began closing.
Really tired.
He slurred, his arms slowly went limp and fell back down into the bed beside his head.
Can I sleep?
Geno added. Death's expression softens. Should he let him sleep? Death doesn't know. There's still a risk that Geno might not make it today.
Don't do that!
Death internally screamed.
Tori will do something to help, Geno.
But then again, even if life managed to heal Geno, there's still Asgore. Asgore is not going to let Geno go that easily, especially after the child-turned-demon incident. If that's the case, this might be their last conversation. Death felt tears forming in his eye sockets. Geno noticed it through his hazy mind. Reaper is crying.
Hey, what's wrong?
Geno asked softly, almost inaudible. Death can't handle it anymore. The mere thought that this is the last meeting absolutely broke him down. He can't do this! Death burst into tears and carefully cradled Geno's upper body. He hugged the injured skeleton close to his chest as he sobbed uncontrollably. Even though Geno was exhausted, he couldn't bring himself to rest, not when Reaper was like this, looking utterly devastated. Geno opened his mouth and was about to say something, but Reaper suddenly pulled away with a sniff.
Listen, no matter what happens, I'll always love you. Okay? Don't forget that, okay?
Death whispered the last words, then kissed Geno's forehead before hugging him close again. Geno was utterly confused. He reached out a shaky and tired hand and placed it on Reaper's cheek, smearing some blood on his face.
I'm gonna be fine. I feel fine. Tell me what's wrong.
Geno softly said, his voice cracking and exhaustion evident in his tone. Death shook his head stubbornly, causing Geno's hand to fall back down. It's for the better that Geno doesn't know, Death thought.
Just remember, okay? I love you. And nothing will change that.
Death is a mess, trembling badly and having breakdowns. Geno decided that it would be better to comply, if that's what it needs to be done to make Reaper feel better again.
Okay, I won't forget,
Geno said as he snuggled closer to the warmth of Reaper's body. Reaper tightened his hold around Geno and said,
I love you.
For the third time. But this time, Geno replied, I love you too. Very soon, Geno falls asleep and Reaper made no move to place him back down on the bed. Instead, he held on to him a little longer. His sobs had subsided and was now blissfully enjoying the moment. The moment that might be their last. Okay, hi guys, it's Ryu, Anime Ryu 1, or whatever you guys want to call me. I am the Lost in Dub-Slation's leader at this point. I don't know how else to word it. But Proxy will be here eventually in the next couple projects. I know I keep saying Proxy's going to do things, but Proxy doesn't do things. And this is kind of like what is holding us up, this particular project. Now, I'm doing this as I go, so it's like, well, here's a couple bullet points. Bullet point 1, the art and the story are done by the same person. Go in the description below and check out their crap. It is so good. I love this story. Cannot wait for the next update. It's gonna be awesome. Yes. Number 2, the music that's in this video is 99.9% gonna be Undertale. Like, I will find random songs out of Undertale and just throw that in because it sounds good. A lot of it has right now been the sadder songs from Undertale, but if you guys actually have songs that you think are gonna be kind of not penalizable music, like, I don't want to get in trouble or nothing. We also don't monetize, so that's a plus. And I don't want it to be monetized, and I'm trying to avoid that by using Undertale music. So there you go. I think this is number 4. Yes, number 4. Check out our Facebook. Lost in Dub-Slation's Facebook, in which we have a ton of bloopers. And if you actually want to stay in touch with us in any shape or form, you can do that by going into the description and finding the Facebook page. You will click on it, and then you will like us, and you will follow, and oh my god, you will have fun. It is a really good times. I mean, I'm planning on actually releasing a lot more stuff through the Facebook page that you guys don't see here, like, ever. I do a lot of my practicing and then post it on Facebook just because I have no life. 0 on the life scale. New computer is coming back, so not new computer, but old computer that's coming back from the repair shop. Yeah. So, I mean, this is going to be better for us because then I'm not going to be using freaking Power Director. Like, this is the worst program ever. Also, just a side... side note. Taking about 3 weeks of break. So today is the 14th. On the 5th of July, sorry. Yeah, the 14th of June is today. On the 5th of July, you guys will get a new chapter. What it is I really need to actually post other things. And I love this story, don't get me wrong, but I really need to go and just be like, hey, we need something new. And if you guys have a suggestion on what comics to use, it doesn't have to be Undertale, guys. It really doesn't. Final Fantasy, Kingdom Hearts, throw us something. Give us a bone, please. I mean, I'll eat a bone. Alright, now that I've done that, I feel like completely embarrassed myself, and we're gonna get the hell out of here. Goodbye!